Thanks for joining us. I'm Tracy Wells with TV Web City.
And I'm Shari Fennell with Indianapolis Women Online, and we're forming a media partnership to talk about the issues that women care about the most.
One of the best parts of shooting our own magazine shows that we can actually do our women wine in the bottom line. But notice we did wait until after 5, right? Is it 4:30? Hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. 5:02, is it really?
Barely, that's right.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah, and I was telling Anita earlier that I have a friend who I just found out is a victim of domestic violence.
Oh, really? How'd you find out?
Well, she admitted it. And I noticed some weird controlling things going on in their relationship, and I just thought, oh, that's weird, that's weird, that's weird.
Really?
And then one night she admitted that he had beat her.
Beat her?
Yeah. Kicked.
Once or?
No, it had happened numerous times.
So,
and I was shocked. But it's just so it's good to get the message out because you don't know the signs. I mean, I just was totally oblivious that this could even, and I think it couldn't happen to somebody like her. And I think that's such a misconception.
It is. I mean, it just happens everywhere. No economic boundaries, no social boundaries, no racial boundaries, anybody. Mm-hmm. And for victims of sexual assault, when you think that it's 1 in 7 women, the chances are so good that we know somebody who's been affected by this.
Mm-hmm. During the holidays, we always try to do all these wonderful, happy family things and all the traditions and everything else that's going on. Do you find that there's more violence and sexual violence in particular and during this time?
I just think there's an escalation of violence during the holiday season. And, when back in the days when I worked at the shelter, we'd always prepare for that influx of calls and the influx of people coming in for help and services. It's such a stressful time. And it's such a time when people are struggling for money and in this economic downturn, especially with layoffs and the economy and everything, escalating prices and the gas prices, it just brings on that escalation of violence.
So you're finding that they're taking it out on their loved one?
They do.
I guess love is an unusual term for that. Yeah. That's not love.
What should we look for?
I guess the right way to say this, the kind of common things to see are when you see the changes in appearance, when you see the changes in clothing, if they're wearing, high-necked things or things that are to cover bruising, longer sweaters, especially, even in summertime, if somebody's wearing long sleeves and it's really not it's kind of out of the ordinary to see somebody wearing that kind of clothing. Their dispositions change. If they're taking more repeated phone calls and they're more private, if they're having to leave to make sure they're home, those kind of stressors that are changing. You just see those subtle differences in people. It should just raise your awareness to ask more questions, right, and just be that friend. Try to get them to talk about it.
Are there escalating factors? I mean, did you notice anything with your friend? Like maybe she started to dress more conservatively beforehand or go home?
I just noticed that she seemed to be more cautious when she was on the phone with him, or careful about what she said. He wanted to know where she was every minute of the day. I mean, just things like that I thought, that's strange, but then I just tucked it in the back of my head. And just said, just push it away. Didn't think about it. So now that I know that this is happening,
sure,
I want to help, and I kept telling her, report it to the police, do something, and she didn't want to do that. So I feel sort of helpless, like, what do you do in those situations?
Ideally, of course, we want them to go to the police, we want to report, but we have to be so careful because sometimes that can escalate violence. So if law enforcement would come out and do a report or take an inquiry, then they know, the abuser knows that the person has been talking to somebody. That can escalate violence and make the situation even more serious at home. We don't know what kind of person, what kind of a batterer they are, if they're a serial batterer, situational batterer. So we just have to be real careful about that. But, we can look at those resources like Legacy House, the Julian Center that are here, like Central Indiana. There are resources throughout the state that they can go to for support groups and counseling. There are national hotlines that they can call for confidential help. Websites, our website has all that information. The Coalition Against Domestic Violence has all that information. DVNGI.
Yeah, if not,
Great
you can link to it. And if you
resources.
just go to one, you can.
You
get
can.
to other.
We're all networked.
Probably finding out you need to get this message out to younger and younger women
It
over the
is.
years.
Younger and younger women. You know, and guys and girls that actually need this education so that they know how to treat each other with respect and
Right, the boys
have
too.
healthy
You're talking about the
relationships.
boys.
Yeah. You know, we gotta, if we're not, if we as women are not stepping up and saying guys need the education too, then we're doing a disservice to the violence that's being perpetrated, because guys got to be responsible and,
Right.
and got to know how to be in a healthy relationship and have communication.
What's that? Well, and a way to do that is by getting one of the End Violence license plates, especially license plates from the BMV, and that will help support all of the programs that INCASA and the different agencies that you help support do.
Yes.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Anita.
you.
Thank you, Anita.